interrupt our program to bring you this important message.
I'm back. That still has a nice beat to it. Still seated twerking to bounce. New Year, and that song still has a vibe in 2025. Also, it's time for a new intro. I am in with a podcast change. I added the F.A.A.F.O to it, but I'm back with the same formula that has allowed me to be successful in the past. I've set realistic intention. I plan on being present and following through, but I still intend to remain petty and hold grudges. Not all intentions need to be positive. Also, I will be unengaged and unbothered by people and things in my life that do not serve me. That means parasitic people, unsolicited judgments, biased newspapers, and mainstream banks. I will not apologize for maintaining my mental peace. Happy and unbothered and at peace because I'm at unbothered. All day, every day, being unbothered is my way. Join me. Butterfly in the sky, I can go twice as high. So take a look, it's in a book, a reading rainbow. I can go anywhere. Friends to know and ways to grow, a temporal rainbow. I can be anything. So take a look, it's in a book, a tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow. A tenfold rainbow. I have ended my PTO and I decided that I was going to go ahead and record this part of the podcast. And for my birthday, first, let's just start there. I've never taken this much time off from my corporate job, and it was so greatly needed. And I'm happy that I did it. Let's go on from there, okay? I had the opportunity to um also get the one of a autobiography or a book about um, the life and times of Octavia Butler or Positive Obsession, Susanna Morris. The link to the my bookshop far from Beale Street dropped on the 19th. I was able to pick it up for my birthday, and this was the first time I did something that I hadn't done in a while. I actually went into Barnes and Noble, picked up this book, as well as Sun Tzu's Art of War. Bought a coffee, bought the New York Times, even though I had been boycotting it since 2024, and just sat there and read the paper like I was Carrie Bradshaw in Chattanooga. It was dope. But I've been and I had already read um, Octavia Butler's Parable of the Sower, as well as finished the Parable of the Talents, and I've been going back to it. And then it's widely known, and they also talk about her starting and stopping Parable of the Trickster multiple times before her death back in 2006. She was suffering from debilitating writer's block. And if she had lived just a few more years, she would have saw the unfortunate shuttering of the shuttle program, NASA shuttle program, the rise of SpaceX Blue Origin, and of cryptocurrency. And I'm not sure how she would have meshed all of that into her near future space uh, science fiction, but she would have had a written about and just basically dove into President Obama. I think I've been going back and forth between uh, writing in a section about a black president, or just having someone on the ilk of Stacey Abrams or Keisha Bottoms, Keisha Lance Bottoms, or even former Vice President. Um, I can see her, former DA in California. If she had gone as low as she wanted to with this crooked weave fool, I think um, the former vice president, she would have actually been elected, because it wasn't tolerated. But I don't think that we were in the right amount of place to accept that from a black woman, when we're using in the guise of um, Gavin Newsom, um, Kamala Harris, I'm sorry, Vice President Kamala Harris, even though she could have gotten him and gathered him all the way together. But I guess that when we go low, we go high crap. And Gavin Newsom is using a younger Hispanic woman to write and manage his social media platforms, because he's dragging the Cricket Weave felon every single day, and I'm all here for it. But why wouldn't it have been tolerated if Kamala Harris had did the same, or Stacey Abrams had did it now with and gotten that fool down in Georgia all the way together? You know what we will accept, and we've seen him basically implode and make a run on our democracy. What is it going to take? He's going to crash it, but I think we are not going to be able to continue to fan dance. Black women in general are going to have to come back up. It's like how we're going to show up. I think we're going to have the economic means to show up the way we want to and when we want to. And that's why I bring all of those things up to say it's because I've decided, um, and see if it's going to be accepted. Because I don't think uh, Octavia Butler would have accepted this, because it's not her voice, it is her idea. I'm just running with it, and I'm using a fair amount of AI, not only to assist with writing the different chapters and creating video, but also I think AI did a very good job based on how I instructed it to create the book art, because I've renamed this the Trickster, a parable, because I don't have any permission from her estate or Huntington Library. I'm just going off from the notes that I've read online, combination of what her books, how she, and also because I wanted to tap a couple of loose ends. I think it would have made it even more interesting if it could have been that, because I always suspected that Marcus and what happened really happened to her father. It wasn't necessary to the plot line of Parable of the Talent, but I honestly think that what happened to their father, we didn't even know his name. I gave him a name. His name is going to be Jacob Olamina. How he basically finds Marcus, what his life was after, because Jacob was actually sold in my book, The Trickster, a Parable. He was actually sold into slavery, discovers Marcus, and they conspire to go against Lauren, because they have, as you know, in the time of the uh, Christian America, when they were at their maximum power, they were named as a cult. In the latter part of Parable of the Talents, they basically, the farm that is the first earth seed or acorn basically gets overrun and becomes a concentration or prison camp. Um, and I always suspected, although it was never confirmed in Parable of the Talents, I always wanted or suspected that Marcus had something to do with that. He also had something to do with the kidnapping and then the illegal adoption of all of the children of Acorn. And again, it was a power trip. It was as if he was punishing Lauren for daring to have something, a thought that was so different than the state Christianity that they grew up with and that was taught by their father, that he had to get her back. But it all taught because it came back stronger. Also, and he also knew the whereabouts of Larkin, or AKA Ashavir. She basically uses her talents with the dream mask to basically for re-education or basically brainwashing other newer people in Christian America. But also because he's gay and he never married, there was also a program very similar to the likes of Michael Jackson and Elon Musk. How and the use of surrogate, and he would donate his sperm and he to create basically these super Christians, his own basic army. That basically, and then it it ran its course. Some of the women were excommunicated or they ran away because they were supposed to abort any female fetuses, and several of them, like the twins, they're going to come back and they're going to basically play a role in the second acorn, the creation of and acceptance of earth seed, as well as the proliferation of that religious thought, and also just a lot of new characters. The Jacob Olamina's new family, Marcus's half brothers, Isaac. He runs away, survives, but he assumes another identity because he doesn't want to be brought back to either another um, work camp or workhouse or back to his father, because he was always questioning, and him going to the new acorn community or earthsea community just makes sense from the standpoint of the storyline. But I'm going to read from you a section, and I know it does have a lot of work to do, but I think it could be frightening when you think about just how good Gemini or even ChatGPT is. But let's check it out. I have to try to make sense of this. I have to write it down if for no other reason than to get it out of my head. The mind can be a graveyard holding truths you don't want to look at, and I found the freshest, most terrible grave of all. I have spent the last 3 weeks trying to convince myself that Lila's information was incomplete, that my own empathic trauma was twisting the facts. But God has changed, and the truth is a thing that will not stay buried. It began with the scouting party we sent out, not the one that found the old communiques, but a new group, a team of 6. They were tasked with tracing the last known trajectory of my brother's group. I'm going to have to actually change that verbiage because I think maybe I'll keep it that way. Um, and I really don't want Christian America to go on the run. I'm going to have to rethink this, but anyways. The first series of salvage data chips from a destroyed settlement on the outskirts of what used to be San Diego. The second was a prisoner, a young man no older than 30, who called himself a brother in Christ. He was a true believer, filled with feverish, almost manic certainty. Maybe that's how I'll come to it, because they have a good run. The pox is over, and then Jared does not get reelected, and he dies of liver failure. So maybe the when as Christian Americas, they not only their influence wanes, they actually go on the run and try to establish. Well, that would make sense, and that's why he and his children were to disappear. That makes more sense. Okay, and you got to go through all of these hiccups before they can even actually make it out to Trappist, because these type of people can hold you back from scientific discovery. You know what I mean? But anyways, I was the one to interrogate him, not because I was the best, but because I was the only one with empathy to know if he was lying. And he wasn't. The truth he carried was something I had to endure. He talked for hours, his voice a drone, a mix of religious fever and simple, terrifying fact. He spoke of the great leader, the man who had brought them from the wasteland to this promised land. Not Marcus, he spoke of my father. Huh. He's a vessel of the Lord, the young man said, his eyes wide and unblinking. He was a slave, a holy man condemned to servitude, but a true servant of the Lord. He was a preacher and anointed one, and the Lord saw fit to deliver him from bondage and put him on the throne. My what is this? This is stupid. I ain't using this. Uh, yeah, I'm gonna have to reread this. I don't like this at all. And I thought the part that I had actually put in my let's see. Okay, this is the actual one that I actually liked. I have to write this down or it will consume me, the weight of it, the poison. For so long, I believed it was enough to have simply survived, to have rebuilt, to have reached the stars. I thought Earthsea had, by its very existence, cleansed itself of old world toxins. This sounds more like it. We built a home on a new planet, a new way of life. We raised a new generation, born into a world of possibility instead of a world of pain. I told myself that the past was just that, the past. A memory, a scar, but a scar can hide sickness that festers beneath the surface. And in my blindness, I allowed it to grow. I've known for months, maybe years, that something was off. A subtle wrongness, a half remembered phrase from a conversation, a name that didn't quite fit a timeline. I ignored these things because the truth was a thing I couldn't bear to feel, not fully. But the truth is a debt that must be paid. The truth is change. It started with the name of woman from a newly awakened diapause family. They were the last group to wake from the Ark of Covenant's final journey. Her name was Lila Jenkins. She was a system analyst from the old world from Jerry's Capital in Sacramento. She worked on supply chain logistics and digital archiving. Her work gave her almost photographic memory of data, a skill that now seems like a gift from God. Lila had been in diapause for so long, she didn't know the specifics of what had happened to us. She only knew the stories we told of the Earthseeds community's persecution, our oral history of Acorn's fall. Yesterday, she came to me. She was helping the community archivist restore some of the old salvage data from the ship's hard drives. She found a fragmented file, a series of encrypted communiques from Jared's administration dated from 2038 and 2039, the same years that Acorn was attacked and overrun. She handed me a tablet, her face pale, her hands trembling. I took it, and the data was just a series of code and dates, nothing I could read. I need you to look at the routing number, she said, her voice a low whisper. The sender, the recipient. I looked. A series of long alphanumeric strings. I've always been more of a farmer than a cryptologist. Who do they belong to? I asked her. The recipient is the Security Subdirectorate in Christian America's Special Projects Division. The sender is something else. It's a personal encryption key. It's listed on a few other files I found. Files about intelligence gathering on subversive cults. I got its provenance traced back to specific individuals' access node in the Jarrett's administration's inner circle. I felt the first tremor then, that familiar cold wave of dread. My hyper empathy, it was always a warning. My chest tightened. And who is that individual? I asked, through my mouth felt full of dust. His name was Marcus Duran. He was a high level advisor to Jarrett himself. He was instrumental in providing intel on dissident groups. His records, they list him as the son of an influential Christian minister and a public figure in Christian America's youth movement. His records indicate that he had no known living relatives, no parents or siblings in the new America, but his face. It was in a data ghost of old news report from a Christian American rally. He was standing right behind Jared. His face was identical to the picture you have of your brother, that one in the community archive. I could feel the grief and shock radiating from Lila, her empathy for me. She was feeling my pain before I could even process it myself. My hands began to shake uncontrollably. I gripped the tablet tighter. My mind went back to the old memories. The days after my father's death. I'm gonna have to change that because he just went missing. The split between Marcus and me. He had gone to join Christian America to find a sense of family order in a world that had none. He had rejected my way, my truth, my God. I assumed he was just lost. But to have joined the very people who destroyed us, to have been a part of it. Show me the communications, Lila. She did one by one. Maybe I'll do it and change it to, because if we follow the storyline of uh Parable of the Talents, Lauren doesn't make it to the next world, but maybe Larkin can, even though she had this complicated relationship with her mother. I think she and the tech that she would, the woman would that would be adopted by Lauren, they would actually make the next group of people that would actually make it to Trappist E1E. I mean, I have to. I'm still going to have to rework this. Report on leadership defensive vulnerabilities. Reference Lauren Olamina, November 2nd, 2038. List of community assets, including food stores, water purification, and child relocation targets. And then it says December 20th, confirmation. He provided a list of all the children in the community with their ages. Voice barely a whisper. Your daughter Larkin she's on the list. Her name was at the top. I don't know how I'm going to do that. We found documents showing how Christian America had developed a formal program for re-education and rehoming children from subversive families. It was a state-sanctioned kidnapping and indoctrination program. The pieces of the puzzle clicked into place. Marcus had not just given them our location, he had given them our weaknesses, names, our children. He had provided the list of those to be taken. His betrayal was not the moment of weakening. It was a career, a deliberate, long-term, calculated act of malice. See, I think they'll get a little bit further with working with diapods, but a lot of this is going to have to take place on Earth before they're even going to be able to get to the stars. A lot of things have to be fixed and dealt with. That's why I'm going to have to rework this a little bit, because I think the trials and them getting beyond the trials are going to be key to them being able to not, to things that they're going to have to get over before they're going to be able to realize their place in the stars. So I'm going to have to change this to some of the advances in science that they actually have to have here on Earth before they can actually proceed to the stars, which will still be dope, I think. We're a messy bunch, the shady bunch, the shady bunch. I hope for checks is worth being part of the shady bunch. I just realized that I had recorded many parts of this episode over a week and a half ago, but a lot has happened in the reality TV world since then. I'm going to mention this probably in a separate posting again, but what's going on in DC is like the worst case or the worst episode of Real House Dummies, Real White House Dummies of DC, of the current felon administration. I'll work that out. But I am going to just do this and do this firmly because I'm not sure what this show does to Asian people in general. So I'm going to start at the top. Shannon Beador, there's the door. She's hilarious and kooky, and I'm wondering if she's really sober because, or is she sober, because this is the calm I've ever seen her, and she just seems real this year. She's not apologetic. She's not about to burst into tears. I think she's come into, she's just come to terms with her being single and just hanging out with her crazy kooky dad. First I thought it was like, did they tape this? Ain't Jimmy Carter dead? Or just old white dudes all in their 90s look the same. I don't know. He looks like a horny Jimmy Carter. Y'all check it out. I don't know if this particular show needed Gretchen, but what I do know is she needs less Botox. So that's just me. I don't think I completely believe her, because she's still with that phony Slade. If you have a name like Slade, you're stupid. And he looks like a rejected porn star. I don't trust her. I definitely don't trust Ryan. I think they're both scammers. And I believe Katie Giannelli got caught up in some BS that is surrounding the anti-Tamara sentiment, but it backfired because Kiki Monique would not pick up this story and run with it. I feel that her return and Slade and the Ryan meetup of it all is dumb. And I think they need to review season 9 of Real Housewives of Atlanta, because I firmly believe they conspired to use that rumor for Tamara, but they must have forgotten that Real Housewives, because Phaedra Parks need to basically school them on when you lie and then you try to pull production into it, you get sat down for 7 or 8 years. Why are you going to be off the show for 11 to 12 years, try to make up something so egregious, and go from there? At least Heather Dubrow is now keeping it real. I think that I get it. She basically understands, but she understands the assignment. She's basically casted cast it on OC when she doesn't really live there. But the crazy thing is, she actually has a house there. She doesn't live in OC full time, but her and Terry DeBro are balling like that. So she can go and shuttle between and show up for
I don't know why Heather doesn't say, you know how amazing I am? I pick up the phone and paparazzi shows up at Disneyland. I would pick up the phone and they'd be like, who? All right, Gretchen.
I find it rich that they
Did you go to the hospital?
I find it rich that they don't think she's rich enough. She didn't have to rent a house. She ain't renting that house. That is her and Terry's house. They got it like that with the brothers, the Altmans, and they own their shit, and they are the shit. So she doesn't have to pretend. I would want to be in Beverly Hills too if I was there most of the time. I think she's still working. You know, some substantive. I don't know if she's on the soap operas like that anymore, but she's working. She's actually doing some Hallmark stuff. So go get your man, or go get your money, and the OC bitches can shut the fuck up. They wish they were Heather DeBro in a great marriage and balling, and all of her kids except for that youngest one are also getting grown. I think is dope. But anyways, now for the rest of them. Tamra Judge, lover or hater, is a force multiplier, and we knew she wasn't going to go anywhere. I think her weed business is doing okay, but it doesn't really beat those Real Housewives checks. And I think that half a Xanny bar and alcohol that she ingested made her react the way she did in New Orleans. I think she takes the licking and she keeps on ticking. And I think Teddy Mellencamp is lucky to have a friend like her. Ride or die, crazy, not crazy, on the spectrum or not. According to this, she hasn't really been formally evaluated. I think that must be a part of a self-diagnosis. But I think we'll see. So with that said, and also you got to realize the lie detector test is not admissible in court, and there could be some people that could beat it more than others. I don't know what they were trying to prove to do this. And this brings me to my second group. The Emily, woe is me of it all. And what's that other one? The blonde one, her friend. They're really getting on my nerves. Gretchen, as I said at the top of the previously, I don't think she was needed in this show, unless they were doing it just to tick her, in the presence of Slade and his stupid face and name were there just to tick off Tamra, how she was going to respond to it. Or they were just the very presence of the fakery is what activates her. But I'm tired of the lies personally myself. I'm tired of Emily yelling. If she really needs a sandwich, just freaking go get a sandwich and leave us alone. I'm tired of her wanting her husband to react over the top like she is about her son that is playing her. Yes, he does have an eating disorder. Yes, he does. He appears to be on the spectrum. But yes, he can also know how to manipulate. And you can't blame your husband, the mistake of blaming your husband because he's not reacting the same way as you is, like that's wrong. And saying that you don't parent the same, or that the way he parents is, and insinuating that with the way he's parenting is bad. Girl, bye. She's starting to annoy me a little bit. And I don't want to be annoyed by the kind of sort of only woman or other woman of color and big bone woman of color on this show. but she's starting to annoy me. Gina's back, that's her name. Gina's backing her up, and she's appearing to all be puppet-like, but she's also a shit stirrer, so the verdict is still out on her. Some of these people, as they try to dissect the Katie lies of it all, are now coming off as thirsty and deflective, and y'all are starting to really freaking annoy me. Do I think Katie Giannelli put some extra sauce on what Gretchen said? Yes. However, do I think Gretchen and Naked Wasted, did they put extra sauce on it? Did she say I should have gone to the hospital and maybe they would have found drugs in her system? I don't know about that part. But I do believe that, yes, Katie may have put some extra sauce on it. And yes, she sat with that blogger and told the blogger that story and hoped she was going to run with it. But the blogger, Kiki, ain't stupid, because she knew if she would have run with that stuff, that story that is unsubstantiated, and why didn't it come out in 2008? She ain't stupid. Kiki Monet ain't stupid. She also knew if they had that kind of dirt, they would have ran with it then. But she also has been on the scene long enough and followed the Housewives long enough to know that that story was implausible. It was unsubstantiated. Unless she had the receipts from the hospital with the drug test from the hospital, there would be no way she would have ran with that story. And for her to sit there and try to deflect, why don't you just say, yes, I did say this story. Yes, I did put some sauce on it, but the story did start from Gretchen. And why don't Gretchen just clarify what exactly she said? She probably said she was drunk as hell. She was still sick the next day. She should have gone to the hospital, but she didn't. I don't know how Katie got that, or maybe she was the only one willing, because Jen is so stupid. That's the other one. I forgot all about her. Jen is so stupid, she wouldn't have ran with that because she wouldn't have remembered it. But Katie says everything's so deadpan and she get the support. She was willing to run with it to get rid of Tamara. But I think maybe Jen ain't as stupid as we think. She's like, I can't take a story like that to anybody because, number one, I've seen what talking to bloggers do. She probably does watch like Real Housewives of New Jersey, where that one, the one that's married to the doctor, have all those kids. She knows what happens when you do that mess. Also, even though she probably won't admit it, she's seen what spreading such an egregious lie to intimate a possibility of rape can do on Real Housewives of Atlanta as Phaedra Parks. Jen ain't as stupid as she want to be. I think they concocted this story and Katie ran with it, knowing full well she's getting ready to get off this fucking show. Because what she's intimating could possibly be misconstrued as rape, and you can't come back from that. You have to crawl your way back. If you want this bad enough, then you'll have to crawl your way back, just like Phaedra Parks did. So, with that said, I think she is not going to come back after this episode. I got to look up what this episode is, too. And if she's going to show up to the reunion. And then if she's going to be asked back for a third season. I wish the truth would come out, because I think this was a setup between all the people that hate Tamra Judge. Katie ran with it, and she was going to take the fall because she put that extra sauce on it. But they're all at risk for not getting asked back. Because now Gretchen can say, "Oh, I didn't say that. I didn't tell her that." But I think Katie may have conspired with the men to try to put the squeeze on Tamara, knowing full well that it could end her stay on the Housewives. How rude, how dumb, how lowball. And we've already seen this crap. Why are y'all putting a battery in these women's back, trying to do all your dirty bidding because y'all hate Tamara Judge? She ain't going nowhere, y'all. It is obvious she ain't going nowhere. But who really needs to go is Katie Giannelli. If in fact she, because it's looking like she actually did, and Gretchen may need to go away because I don't think she was needed anyways. I would have liked to see Bellino come back more so than I would like to see that non-storyline Gretchen come back, because this manufacturer stuff is getting old and it's played and it's stupid. Why manufacture a storyline when there's so many other real compelling storylines to be had? Why are we still talking about dumb shit from 2007? I don't know. Y'all get it together. You have to make sure that when you hit or you think you hit record, even on QuickTime, that is actually recording. So I'm finding this out the hard way, that yes, QuickTime does have noise canceling capabilities, but you still maybe should use a headset, which also is wireless and is recording as we speak. Y'all, I neglected to have this on recording, so I did a whole tirade on the reality TV of it all. And y'all missed my take on how, even though I think Andy Cohen and Carlos King are the two shadest queens on reality TV, I think they are great heads of production. But how Andy did gather Jesse all together on the third part of um the Valley, um uh what is Valley? The Valley reunion. And Jesse Mullally's, at the time, side piece has threatened litigation for anybody that talks about her, or they mention her name on the show. How is that possible? You basically, by presence of her then relationship or lack thereof with Jesse, he signed a contract. Anything that's going on in his life is fodder for the cameras. They're gonna mic you up, they gonna set the boom, and y'all gonna get to talking. If you want to get paid or be on this show, and it's obvious all of y'all thirsty enough to do it, then you need to go head on and stop playing in our face and get to performing, because that's what you have been hired for. Andy got them all the way together. He was like, look, you are on a reality TV. Your name is not on the production company and ain't on your checks. Unlike your divorce that's being held up by you representing yourself and you consulting with your attorney, which is you, your presence on this show doesn't work like that. You are not self-producing. So if she wants to be with you in your reality and you are filming, then she has to be subjected to being filmed. But don't show up at a cast function and don't expect to not be recorded and not be quoted and not be talked about, because your association through this cast member is why that gives us access to that. So stop it, girl. Go head on and stop it. Don't show up and keep it pushing, because that's the way those things drop. And we are more interested in that kind of stuff too, because it seems like all this off camera talking and then litigation, we don't care about the mess of it all, talking about somebody being drunk, talk about somebody being inappropriate, because it's all off camera. And then y'all want to sue, and then y'all want to claim some type of legal uh uh problem, transgression. I didn't see it. I don't care about it. So stop talking about it. How about that? And just because you're trying to be hot or relevant, Janet, as well as Jax, has also proved that females can come in douchey terms too. Y'all can smell like vinegar too. Janet, you need to go either lean in to be a villain, but then don't say stuff and then hide your hands or hide behind your husband's disability law degree. He did go to law school, but you seem to be more of an ambulance chancellor. So it's looking a little shaky, bro. However, I say all those things to say is because Andy Cohen basically got this high body count, messed up hair, anti-gay rights opponent, Kim Davis, all the way together. She still has bad hair. And he says, told her, how about you take your high body count hair, bigoted, bump it ass to therapy to figure out your relationship issue before you try to nuke our basic civil rights. If they want to get married, let them. A lot of these same-sex marriages are more successful than your four probably could ever be. And your Christian leaning has not subjected you to not being successful in a relationship or in a marriage. Does marriage make your cold heart right? No. Just because you say you're a Christian, but you do some basically bigoted, hateful things, is not going to absolve you from you being an awful person. And that's the bottom line. And it took a gay queen to get you all the way together on that. And I'm here for all of it. So I did not think I was going to be able to rewatch this, but now watching it on Peacock and kind of fast forwarded through the stupid shit, because I'm not going to be able to tolerate another episode of Bubble Lip Lisa and Larsa Pippen with her bubble butt going off about why does Lisa follow Marcus Jordan. Unfollow his not talented cokehead ass already. The only reason why Lisa is digging her heels in, because she's basically like, you're not going to tell me what to do. Girl, eat a sandwich or something and get all that wrestling taken out your lips, because you look stupid with your duck lips. So you look crazy in these streets. I did not realize, or I am realizing, that they are wasting time. I think they are trying to mix lighthearted with some heavy shit, because I did not realize the extent of what Kiki is actually going through. I wish we could see a little bit more of her family. And I thought, and I was vibing with Kiki's, the model's family. I follow her on Instagram now. I like to see her. She is a stunningly beautiful Haitian American woman. Her relationship with her family now, and how she's gotten to this point. And now for her to be getting death threats from family members because she can't sponsor them or won't sponsor them to come here. How you going to basically threaten somebody that, and you're so desperate to get, but you're threatening them that you're going to kill them, your entrance legally to this country? Girl, bye. That kind of stuff is just so trolly and so crazy to me. But even in that dynamic, Gertie was doing the most. And I'm going to basically see if Peacock will allow me to fast forward through this. because I do not care. I do literally. I sound like because I'm a member of the I do not care club, the perimenopausal women. I'm fully in the menopause, and I really do not care. I don't care about Larsa trying to demand that Lisa unfollow. What else are you talking about? Are you talking about that you're now going to have to get a butt reduction or a lift because you got an overfill on your ass? Your ass does not look natural. Lisa, your body and your lips are not natural. I hope Andy asks you what the end game is on your lips like he did with Kim. Because again, you look really ridiculous and crazy in these streets. And them, I love this new age smarter, pretending look at Adriana, giving us the history on everything from how you pronounce Seville and Castilian, why they roll their R's, because the king had a list. I find that fascinating. And that's just enough of stupid history shit that is giving this some lightheartedness, because the idea of this being another episode where they're in the beautiful country of Seville with all of that wonderful seafood, and Larsa Pippen and Lisa Hochstein are yelling at each other about who needs to unfollow who. And why is Jody texting Larsa? Is he trying to get out with her because he tired of Lisa's overdone ass? She's overdone just as Larsa just overdone as Lisa. I don't understand. Her face doesn't move. Her lips are too big. Her ass is going south because the reality of it is gravity is always going to win. And I'm tired of seeing y'all fake asses. I want to see more of the glamorous side of it all. I want to see if Stephanie is just as glamorous without a fraud case hanging over her husband's ass as Terry DeBro. That's what I want to see. I think Heather DeBro actually looks likable or seem likable on Andy's show. And because this OC season with her simping to Tamra is not really working for me, I need to see her fabulosity. And why does the champagne and Verve and all these people send her Christmas notes and shit like that? Like her son basically outed her for her fabulousness, bouginess. I want to see more of Heather bouginess. Is she withholding on the fabulousness of it all because she doesn't want to make those other girls look bad? Why would a queen basically take off her crown because the servants feel bad? Because that's what it is. Y'all better recognize Heather DeBro is fabulous and bougie, and that's all she has to do. As she is truly a housewife. She is an actress, but she don't really have to act. Her and Terry DeBro and all of their accomplishments and all of their wealth, they got it like that. But y'all better recognize, and I hope she's not trying to dim her light just because she doesn't want to ruffle those other peasants' feathers. But they got, maybe she's like, she can be fabulous when she want to be fabulous. If she wants to celebrate her birthday all year long just to keep it light and happy, she can actually do that. She can have caviar brunches if she really wants to do that, and doesn't have to worry about it, because she can eat as much caviar as she wants to, and it's not all that calorically dense. So that may vibe with her no calorie diet, but I digress. I would want to see more of her fabulousness and her being able to just walk into her light and bouginess and not have to worry about the simpletons that she's being surrounded by. That old plastic face Gretchen, she's adding nothing to as a friend of. Tamara's going off the rails, and I'm not sure what's going on. I'm tired of Shannon screeching. There's just so much they could be. And I don't know. I'm trying to like Gina and Emily and her details, but they're making it also very difficult for me to have some type of focus because there's no resolution. There just seems to be a whole bunch of mess and a whole bunch of screeching, and I'm not here for it. I see a whole bunch of women that can't, their faces can't move, and nobody is eating, and there's a whole bunch of food that's being wasted on these Ozempic taken bras. They're going to have to tighten it up and come up with a mixture of mess and happiness, because what's going on now and the frivolity and the juvality that they could be actually experiencing in New Orleans is being wasted on these OC bitches. What are y'all doing to me? Stop playing in my face with the fakery. Well, Joe, it just seems like I just got a lot to say. Making sure that it's on record. I'm glad I'm recording now because the more I talk, the longer the episode is fitting to be. But anyways, um, I already commented previously, I think to a certain extent, on Heart and Hustle Houston. This is a show also on OWN, and it's a docu-series about a group of successful Black women in Houston. I've been rewatching the episode because first I fell asleep when it aired in on yesterday, and then I can't remember any of these hoes. Elena Salisbury, who is that? Chloe, Latoria. Y'all gonna have to watch the clip that I'm gonna actually put into the podcast notes about this show. And she's the one that her and her husband are sleeping in separate rooms. Let me make sure. Yes. And she's beautiful, but she also looks like she's had a BBL that's now hitting. So, and granted, yes, everybody wear lead jeans. They got big butts because they're curvy Black women. She's a former, I believe she's done some runway, but at the same time, I don't think that she is all of that, all of her beauty is surgically enhanced. But before I get into that, there's also one of the things that I didn't realize, that Jesse Collins Entertainment is also the production company that actually has this show. He and Carlos King, Rain Entertainment, actually have collaborated on K Michelle's show, My Body is Killing Me or whatever. And he's done a lot of stuff. If y'all have not noticed how wide the Emmy and the Grammys and the Super Bowl halftime have been lit, it's because Jesse Collins Entertainment has produced all of those great shows. The difference between he and Kingdom Reigns is he unlike Carlos King, I don't know what his sexual persuasion is, but did not see and know who him outside of just his name of his production company before today and what all he's done. He does not have a podcast where he interviews reality TV stars. He does his foray into reality TV is before Heart and Hustle Houston. So I now they say Heart and Hustle Houston. So is there going to be a Heart and Hustle Dallas? Is there going to be a Heart and Hustle Amarillo or Galveston? Because Black folks, we run that shit. It would be great if we could see a Heart and Hustle New Orleans. You know, Heart and Hustle Miami. A Heart and Hustle shit Atlanta. Black folks are coming, and we there. And if these women are real, like these women are real, then it would be great. And I think he can pull it off because he's not so entwined with their lives like it just seems Carlos King is. And that's just me being shady, but it's just my observation. But anyways, Chloe Cook is the messiest one. She's the one that is dating a Tyson Beckford lookalike, and he's a lot younger than she is. Latoya Lemon is the big girl, big back, and she ain't ashamed of it. Wait a minute, who is Labrina, or is that Labrina, who is married, and she is married to a now they have a ranch, and her husband is an ex pro football player. Manira is how you go from a engineer to a influencer. Girl, bye. But your hair looks good. And Ro Ricardo is the fastest talking Houston country woman I've ever met. And it looks like she's in a transition period where she's actually she's trying to leave her former managerial position in her restaurant chain, and she's trying to reestablish herself and get it all together so she can actually get better and be better in her new relationships. So this is another true, it looks like these women, unlike even reality, like the Real Housewives series, these women are already about it. And they are successful, and they don't really need reality TV to make them more successful, but it really ain't gonna hurt. They ain't perpetrating a fraud, except for what's her name? The one that her and her husband, Elena Salisbury, the glam girl. Why is it like you're gonna be a makeup artist and you think you can put paint on a pig and then actually think it's gonna be something different? I don't think so, girl. I don't think so. She's the only one I have a question mark next to, and she's giving me fakery vibes, but she gonna roll up on Chloe, and Chloe's gonna get her all the way together. But I'm really digging this new reality TV series about truly successful women. Can get ghetto, can go there if you take them there, but they don't base it just on ghetto. They seem to be a nice mixture of street and sweet, if that makes any sense. Love and Marriage Huntsville. The verdict was really out because, but, and I'm glad I have rewatched this week's episode multiple times because I have found that I keep missing stuff. This is season 10, episode 5, Nail to the No. It starts out with Miss Nail visiting her son Lance, who admittedly to me, I did not realize how fine this boy was. He needed to do something with his locks though. But he was thick-witted and his locks were different. But now it appears that he has taken fatherhood to a whole different level, and his new baby, which he had they said they were only dating, but there's another character on this show, her name is Destiny, who is looking super fly this year, that I with F with S Destiny. I'm intrigued by her. And granted, I have not been as into the show in the previous seasons as I've been in this last couple of seasons. For one thing, I am not a fan of Martell Hope. His flapjack head, cheating on his wife, had all those babies, had a baby on her. His nasally ex-wife, Melanie, former Hope. I just couldn't get over their dynamic and the messiness and the bullshit and the fakery, because it was a messy, baseless show. And I'm going to go on record of saying this. I've noticed that it appears, this is just me talking, y'all. It appears that Carlos King wanted his franchise, unlike with his years on Real Housewives of Jersey, Real Housewives of Atlanta, he basically has found a way to integrate both men and women into their dynamic. When we or the fans tune in to the Real Housewives series, we don't give a damn about what Peter Thomas was talking about. We just thought of him as the seventh housewife, you know. And he was fine in his own drunk, dark-skinned way. Nida Apollo, fine in his thuggish way. Everybody, and Greg in all of his just swag was dope, for the time that he and Nene was on the show. Their dynamic actually made the show. How many people get divorced and then get remarried on Real Housewives? Nobody. So I say all those things to say is that this is his dream and culmination of how he wanted his reality TV to present itself. But a lot of these men, I think, are bitch asses. And I didn't watch this show prior to the ultimate douche and bitch asses, Martell Holt, Marceau, Scott, and them. I couldn't stomach it. I think, and now that Melanie and her millimeters are no longer on the show, I'm happy because I couldn't stand her voice and her fakeness. I'm digging this new era. This season has been surprisingly messy, but I like this dynamic. I did not realize just how beautiful all these women are. I did not realize Miss Nell, in all of her 60 some odd years, is a successful uh, um, child care specialist, and she looks stunning to be in her 60s. I want to grow up to be like Miss Nell. I ain't gonna lie to y'all. I want to grow up. And I didn't realize just how beautiful her children are and their children are. I say this to say is because towards the end of last season, Destiny revealed her dating Miss Nell's child. This episode starts with how it broke again off season that Lance, while he was dating her, he actually had his baby mom. He has a new daughter now. And this episode opens up where Miss Nell goes to visit him, and they are interacting. She come to the house and she's basically commenting on how last time she was there was no snacks or anything, but she bought her own snacks because she knew how trifling her kid was. And she has offered to help with the child because Lance is still working successfully in green spaces, and that's going to be another source of conflict. And Chris Fletcher needs to stop faking the funk. He's been with Nell for 30 years. They've worked out infidelity evidently on both sides. And he has grown the business, helped with her other businesses with her by his side. He know if Miss Nell wants to stay at that child's house for 2 days out of the week, she gonna stay at that her son's house, Lance, 2 days out of the week. Also, she's going to give her comments on the destiny of it all because I think there needs to be some resolve. Like he said, there needs to be some type of conversation where she basically voice, if you're going to be a full-time now and it looks like he's a full-time cast member, then they're going to basically need to have some resolve on their interaction, and he needs to be able to be in the same room, meet her eye to eye, and actually figure out their lack of relationship or if they're not going to move forward, but they at least need to be able to film together and not try to avoid each other, because ain't nobody going to be tolerating that, because that's why Real Housewives of New Jersey is on pause. And I suspect the Bells in Mississippi, they're on pause, not only because they ain't got no damn water in that part of Mississippi, but also because I have a feeling they are they tried it when they basically rolled up to the live and then quit on Carlos and Dustin on the live. I need to re-watch that, because I think that was some bullshit. How the talent going? That's when the talent basically forget who produces them. And if you want to quit, then quit, or quit at the reunion. Why y'all gonna front and quit on a live or talk a whole bunch of shit on social media, and not because you forgot who signed your motherfucking checks again? And I just also realized that this newer, more realistic version, healed from cancer version of Kimmy Scott, I'm all for this. But Letitia, although it looks like she has a better stylist and makeup artist now, I don't agree with the fakery. I think there's a lot that's going off camera that we are learning about. The Sunny Files, the former producer that came back and basically married Destiny's ex while they possibly were dating. Yeah, I'm gonna need to know all the story behind that, if they're willing to play that out for, if they can get that contract language together, I'm more interested in that. But I'm not interested in Letitia Scott trying to gather other people's husbands together where she can't gather her old fraudulent husband, Marceau. I think Marceau Scott, I did not like him on the live. Every time he opens his mouth, I think the skeletons and lies fall out. I think he has a false sense of self. I think he's a narcissist. And I'm going to need to know something different than the Marceau Scott that he is trying to produce and portray on the live as well as on this show. But I'm not hearing her trying to flex and to screech over music and to try to gather everybody else relationships and lives, get them lives together when she can't, and when we don't know what is the reality of her life. What do you want us to believe? Because what you're showing us on the 15 sound bites is rehearsed and looks fraudulent and it looks crazy. I'm very fascinated by Destiny's backstory. I'm very fascinated by Kimmy and her husband, Maurice's real dynamic now that she has beat cancer, and how Destiny, she made a very good point. She would not know these women. They want to get and basically act and see how it is for them to actually be friends and get it captured on camera. But Destiny ain't crazy. Destiny is about this life. She said, I wouldn't know y'all if it's not about Martell. You're not about to produce me into only talking about what you want me to talk about, because what you want me to talk about, to my standpoint, is boring, Letitia Scott. And Destiny said, just because you and your husband have beef with Martell, I think there is also something to that. I think Martell is too stupid and lived his life out loud and fraudulently and fakery. And there's some truth to when he was riding, he drank the Kool-Aid, cheated on Melanie, but I don't think he did it all by himself. And I think he and maybe Maurice was along for the ride. And she seems to be good with Martell. And she said the only reason why I know y'all is through Martell. So you gonna need to get over it. She got her all the way together. You are not gonna be able to dictate who she is around and who they film with and who she brings around, because again, you don't sign her checks. You didn't come up with the contract. Why you fronting? And I think Kimmy is learning how to navigate this too, because she knows she's cast member and she wants her checks. The mess film's good, but she gonna look good in the film, in the mess, because this week's episode she does look good. Kim Scott looks really good. I'm also fascinated by the interaction between her and her son, who is a whole in his 30s, and she don't look that old. She looks good. Went through cancer, she looks good. Also, I'm seeing the real side of the Catholic side of Miss Nell, and even Ken's jump off. So Trisha, is that her? I don't know. But I think she's also trying to read the room and figure out where she is going to fit into this show, how she's going to navigate this when her life is a mess. Because I'm also intrigued by her not being divorced from her punk ass estranged husband, Marquez, how he's a troll, petty. And Ken did look good at her birthday with the plaid shirt cut out and the cowboy hat. Actually, all the men, even Marceau Scott, looked good in his hat. But Ken looked better with his friend Will. Oh, them old thuggish black cowboys look really good. So I dug them, and I think how they're going to navigate this new dynamic, and um Chris Fletcher suggesting, even though he may be a horrible husband or may have been a horrible husband, he seems to be a good father. He just can't lead by example because he's trash as a partner. But Lance looked good in this episode too. Even with Chris in his process hair, his curls, he looked good. But having to adjust being a baby daddy with multiple partners is interesting, that Chris Fletcher mentioned Martell as being helping him navigate all of that. And then whatever he's going to say or not say to Destiny, and just navigating his whole romantic life. I don't think Chris Fletcher meant that, but I think he helping him navigate multiple different baby mamas and little children, and still being working full time, building your own business as a contractor, and also navigating your romantic or your personal life with children. And you look good. Okay. I can kind of get that, but as long as Martell don't try to give him any relationship advice, then we ain't gonna have no problems. And so I think Chris, he can try to buck up on Miss Nell if he want to. She gonna gather him all the way together. But I really did like how Miss Nell basically gets Letitia Scott all together and keep it pushing, because that is funny to me. That is hilarious. Jackson, Mississippi. That's where the Bells of the other show is. And I wonder, did the majority of the cast mutiny, and they're trying to basically take a longer time to get other women involved and see how they interact and see what other genuine friendships that actually take well, and for them to go forward with that show. So I say all that to say, because I forgot what the name of where where the place in Mississippi that has all the issues with no water is, Jackson, and actually the name of the show. And I don't think I've seen any notifications where it's going to come back. Where I think um the um Love and Marriage, Huntsville has been renewed, but they are also going to prove why they are going to continue to be renewed. But they're going to need to stop this self-produced mess. And Letitia Scott and Marceau, if they want to continue, and it sounds like their legal troubles are going to make them need to continue because they're going to need a check to pay for their legal bills, because there's something brewing with the Sunny of it all, the Sunny files of it all, that is going to keep them in litigation for a very long time. So they're going to need another source of income. Just saying. Oh, up, 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 up. You can take the girl out of the hood, but you can't take hood music out the girl. But I'm going to end this with a word, just as I started this podcast. Do or do not do. There is no try. And that's a word from Yoda. I hope I have conveyed just how much fun I have had in creating this podcast. I've got my mojo back. Just set your intention or reset your intention. It could be daily if necessary. Mine is peace. No mental dumping over here. If I'm acting like I'm not listening, I'm probably not. I'm not your therapist. I'm not a therapist. Keep the crazy to yourself, child. You do you and leave me be. The sooner you figure that ish out, the happy you will be. So this is what I want to convey in this podcast. And that wraps another of F.A.A.F.O has a fro. Join me next time as I throw shade and point out the shade and simply have fun. Y'all have a great new year. What? What, y'all? What?